Let's get it.
I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Pose everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.
All right, Shalom Israel, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatam to all the brothers, Yahweh Shema Alatam Bashem Yahshua to all the sisters. Big shalom to everybody that is in the live. I see Kayallah, shalom. All right, shalom to everybody. This is real-time revelations where I go into all the relevant topics that's plaguing our people. I give you the biblical perspective. I'll give you the real-time breakdown live on TikTok every Monday, every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. UK time. All right, so today's episode, so on the last episode I went into substance abuse. Last episode was about substance abuse and how substance abuse is not a flex. Many of our people, we're taking these narcotics, trying to be like our favorite rappers, trying to be like our favorite influencers, but substance abuse is not a flex, a flex, and it's unalive many of our people, taking the lives, not only if it hasn't claimed your life in a way where you'd be unalived, it may claim your life in the fact that you're strung out on this narcotic, this drug, and you cannot get off it, and it ruins your life. It ruins the life of your family, your mother, your father, your children, your siblings, because your mind is taken by this narcotic. All right. Shalom also to, I see ISUPK Montreal, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah, the water for tuning in. Make sure everybody, like the video, share it. If you're not following the page, make sure you follow ISUPK UK so we can bring more of this out. We put videos out regularly, breaking down certain things. A heavy recent video one of our brothers did was on BBLs, because a lot of our sisters, because of how the oppressor has put us down so low, many of our sisters struggle with self-esteem issues and insecurity. And so in following the oppressor, they decide to go under the knife. But those type of surgeries are very dangerous, and it's claimed many of our sisters' lives, unfortunately. So you definitely want to tune into that video. We'll give you the breakdown on BBLs and how that could lead to your unaliving. And really what you want to focus on is inner beauty. All right, but without further ado, we're going to go into tonight's topic. So again, Monday we covered substance abuse. This week we're zoning in on weed. All right, this week I'm gonna do a class. The smoking weed is turning you into a woman. All right, now I know that might sound crazy. Let me cook. Let me break it down. Let me go into it. All right. So the first thing I kind of want to go into is the history of cannabis in especially the Caribbean, because a lot of Benjamite brothers, which if you're from the islands or Caribbean islands, you'd be of the tribe of Benjamin. A lot of Benjamite brothers think, or brothers and sisters, smoke weed and think that that's kind of black culture. That's part of Jamaican culture or Trinidadian culture. That's part of Rastafarianism is big in the Caribbean, and that's kind of part of it tied into it. It's almost its own. Rastafarianism is its own religion, right? And smoking weed is a tradition of that. But I want you to be aware that smoking weed or cannabis is not black culture. It doesn't come from us. It doesn't even really come from Rastafarianism. They was just kind of adopted. I'm gonna give you the history on cannabis in the Caribbean. All right, so we're gonna start there. What I'm gonna do is share my screen. Y'all should be able to see that. I might need to zoom in a little bit. Let me go into it. Let me see if I can zoom in. I might just have to scroll along. Okay, that should be Tawab. Let me do one more. All right, cool. So this is on how cannabis came to the Caribbean. All right, so the first one is indentured servants from India. So it says in the 1850s and 1860s, licensed business in the Bengal region of India imported cannabis to Jamaica for consumption by Indian indentured servants. So this, cannabis in the Caribbean doesn't come from Jamaicans. It's not, a Jamaican thing. It's not a Trinidadian thing. It's not a Bayesian thing. it comes from these Indians that migrated over into the Caribbean. All right, when they became Indian indentured servants. That says they were servants, but even they were treated better than us. All right, it says many terms used in Jamaican cannabis culture are based on Indian terms, including the word ganja. So even the word ganja is an Indian word. All right, all these terms that we use and we have adopted, it comes from these Indians. All right, it's nothing to do with black people. It's certainly not our culture. All right. Also, shalom to everybody that's joining. Make sure you like the video, share it. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you follow the page if you ain't followed already. I'm gonna keep going. Okay. Migration of Hindus and Muslims. In the 20th century, thousands of Hindus and Muslims migrated from British India to the Caribbean, which may have brought cannabis culture to Jamaica. All right, so that's where weed culture in Jamaica comes from. It comes from these Hindus and these Muslims migrating from India. If you know anything about the Hindus and the Muslims and the way they serve their God, a lot of them get high. It's part of their almost it's part of their rituals. They get high, and that's supposed to get them closer to their God, right? It's a big thing on in India. A lot of them basically drug addicts, but they call it, it's a tradition. Traditionally, they just get high on whether it be cannabis or opioids is another big thing in India, where they will get high in these festivals and even the like what's it called, hookah and things like that is kind of representation of their culture. They will get high and it's supposed to bring them closer to their God so they can serve their God, right? So when you smoke weed, when you burning cannabis in order to get high, that's not black culture. You're following after Hindus and Muslims. You're following after the tradition of how another people serve their God. All right. Because when you and a lot of Rastas, we adopted smoking weed and we say it's a way for us to get closer to our God. But listen, smoking weed is not how you get close to the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible ordered us or commanded us to be sober minded. All right, our God is different from any other nation's God. It's different from the God of the Hindus and the Muslims. Is different from the God of Rastafarianism and the Ethiopians. It's different to all these other gods. Our God commanded us to be sober minded, not to be getting high to get closer to Him. When you get high, you might be getting closer to the Hindu God or the Muslim God. You might be getting close to Allah, but you certainly aren't getting closer to Yahweh, which is the black God, the nigger God, all right, according to the Bible. All right, so we're going to get into it. So we broke down that smoking weed is not black culture. It doesn't come from us. It doesn't come from the Caribbean. It comes from a tradition of serving other gods. All right, so we're going to get into the Bible. So let me see. Mm-mm. And also many Rastafarians will what's the word, they justify it by saying, okay, well, weed is a herb, it was given to us, it comes from the earth, it's this and that. There are many things that come from the earth. There are many things that come from the earth and can be used for medicinal purposes. But even in the Bible, they try and use the Bible to justify them smoking weed, but the Bible does not justify you smoking weed. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it in let me get the verse. Ezekiel chapter 47 and verse 12. All right, we're gonna read this scripture. Ezekiel 47 and verse 12. And by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all trees for meat. Right? So that's what, that's kind of what they say, all herb is given for man, what I'm saying, given for man. But it says very key here, shall grow all trees for meat. And the word meat means food, right? To consume it. It don't say to smoke. Most High did not give us trees to burn and smoke and inhale the smoke into our body. When you have a house on fire, you know, you don't stay in the house, because what's in the house is smoke. And when you inhale that smoke, you get carbon monoxide poisoning. Smoke is not meant to be inside your body. If you wouldn't want smoke inside your house, you certainly shouldn't want smoke inside your body. Your body is more precious than your house. You might be able to rebuild or buy a new house. You can't can't exactly rebuild and buy a new body. The body you have is just the body you have. It's more precious than any material possession. In fact, we're gonna get into it later. Your body doesn't even belong to you. It's not your body. Your body belongs to the Most High. All right, we're gonna get into that a little later on. Okay, it says, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issued out of the sanctuary. And it says, and the fruit thereof shall be for meat. So the fruit, the different vegetables and fruits and different herbs shall be for food. Like you have, for example, seasonings, right? You have thyme, you have coriander, you have all these different, herbs and fruits and vegetables for food, right? And it says, and the leaf thereof for medicine, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So things like cannabis or weed, they do have a medicinal purpose. It can be used for medicine. The problem is many Israelites, especially Benjamites, is real big in Benjamite culture. Not to say other nations don't do it, but I think particularly with Benjamites and that Rastafarianism is real big in the tribe of Benjamin. But the problem is that we self-diagnose. We self-diagnose, and everybody is just smoking weed and saying, "Oh, I do it for medicinal purposes," but you didn't consult no doctor. You didn't consult nobody to say, "Okay, you need this," or maybe you could try this. Maybe you should try this herb and that herb, because that's all that when you get drugs from the pharmacy, that's all it is. It's just different herbs and different extracts from different herbs and plants and different places in order to make this drug. They've now refined it to get everything you need kind of more concentrated. But the problem is that we self-medicate and we abuse the medication. We take it in a way that it's not meant to be taken. All right. If you have, um, cannabis prescribed to you by a doctor, you can get it in many different methods. It could be in like an oil, it could be in like a tea, like where you consume it. But it's not made to be smoked. When you burn it and you smoke it, you're now changing the property of the cannabis. You're changing the properties of it. All right. And you're taking it in a way where it's not meant to be taken. Okay. So we're gonna get into, I think the next thing I'm gonna get into, let's see. So we went into how we came into the Caribbean. We went into, leaves can be used for medicine, but one, you don't want to self-medicate. You definitely don't want to self-medicate. You know, if weed is to be used for medicinal purposes, it should be prescribed to you by a doctor, not prescribed by yourself. Okay. Also, you don't want to consume it in a way where it's not meant to be consumed. Okay. You don't want to smoke it. You don't inhale smoke into your lungs. That can cause all sorts of issues like lung cancer, breathing problems. The smoke is not meant to be inhaled. It can make your lips black, just make you look unattractive, all sorts of different things. All right. Next part I'm gonna get into is let's get into this one. The risks of marijuana. All right, so we're gonna start from here. It says approximately 1 in 10 people who use marijuana will become addicted. When they start before the age of 18, the addiction rises to 1 in 6. All right, and that's a big thing. Many of our people start smoking from young. You in your rebellious phase, or everyone around you smokes weeds. You start smoking from young, and it's not seen as anything, bad in our community. It's almost glorified in the black community. All right, we're gonna get into the risks. So marijuana use can have negative and long-term effects. Brain health. Marijuana can cause permanent IQ loss as much as 8 points when people start using it at a young age. So smoking marijuana can permanently impair your IQ. It can permanently, make you less intelligent when you start using it from young. You're impairing yourself. You're impairing your ability to learn or grow in intelligence. All right, these IQ points do not come back even after quitting marijuana because you've used it, or I should say you've abused it in your development phase where your brain is still developing. You can take off IQ points. All right, let's go ahead. Go into mental health. Studies link marijuana use to depression, anxiety, planning to unalive yourself, and psychotic episodes. All right. So it links to all these different mental health issues, which is why, everyone talks about, they smoke and they get paranoid. All right, it can cause depression, anxiety, which is another part in that for brothers especially is turning you into a sister. So like here, all these sort of issues, you'll find depression and anxiety, they're far more common in women than they are in men because okay, women naturally have kind of they fluctuate more with their hormones. All right, that's just that's not to offend any sisters, but many of y'all will know for sisters that their hormones fluctuate far more than brothers. A brother is more consistent. If he's if a brother's crazy, he's just crazy. If a brother's firm and regular, he's regular. But sisters can kind of fluctuate a lot between their emotions in different times of the month or just in general. The sisters' hormones will fluctuate far more frequently. Okay, so let me even go into this. So I mean, I'm definitely not making it up. Depression and anxiety are more common in women than in men. Let me zoom out a little bit on this one so we can read it. Okay. In fact, I don't want to make it too small so y'all can't see. Let me get back. All right, we're gonna read it here. Okay, so depression, it says women are about twice as likely as men to develop depression during their lifetime. Women may experience depression at times of hormone change, such as during or after pregnancy, around their period, or during menopause. Okay, so that's depression. And now when you smoke this weed as a brother, you're giving yourself, it's almost like you're giving yourself these hormone imbalances. Making it more likely for you to be depressed or develop anxiety or any pre-existing mental conditions you have, it will cause them to worsen. Okay, we're gonna get into anxiety. So women are also more likely to meet the criteria for all anxiety disorders, with the exception of agoraphobia, which I believe agoraphobia, that's the fear of like being outside or something, I think. The brain system involved in the fight or flight response is activated more readily in women and stays activated longer than men. Okay, so for sisters, you'll have a more active fight or flight response. So y'all will trigger, for the most part, that kind of anxious feeling when you're in your fight or flight. It will trigger more often and stay activated longer, um, on average than men, right? And when you're smoking this weed as a brother, you're causing this on yourself. You're causing these mental issues on yourself and worsening anything you already have. Okay, we're gonna get back into this. Athletic performance. Research shows that marijuana affects timing, movement, and coordination, which can harm athletic performance. So you're making yourself less capable in the athletic realm. Driving. Now I don't, not to say that sisters can't drive, but there is I guess there's a stereotype that says women can't drive. If you believe that stereotype, but you still smoking weed, then you turn yourself into a woman in this case. Okay. It says driving. People who drive under the influence of marijuana can experience dangerous effects, slower reactions, lane weaving, decreased coordination, and difficulty reacting to signals and sounds on the road. Okay. Baby's health and development. So this is even for sisters. Marijuana use during pregnancy may cause fetal growth restriction, premature birth, stillbirth, which is an unalive child, and problems with brain development, resulting in hyperactivity and poor cognitive function. Meaning, your child might have all these different mental disorders, maybe ADHD. Someone says here, Elysia says, no, it's a fact, women drive home. But hey, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but if you're a brother and you're smoking weed, let's just say it can impair your driving. I don't want to offend those sisters. Some sisters can be real too wild with that driving, but on average, there is a difference between men and women. The same with athletic performance. You got women in the NBA, but if you compare that to men in the NBA, I say that women in the WNBA. You compare that to men in the NBA, there's a difference in athleticism. All right, but as a brother, you're impairing yourself and kind of you trying to it's almost you trying to put yourself closer to that women category. All right, you don't want to do that as a brother. As a brother, you should be ready to conquer. A brother, you should be ready. You are the warrior class. You should be ready for the battle. But when you indulge in cannabis, Smoking weed, you're impairing your ability to be a warrior. You're impairing your ability to be a man to your full potential. Okay. We're gonna get back into this part. So on the baby's health and development, it was right here. So THC and other chemicals from marijuana can also be passed from a mother to her baby through breast milk, further impacting the child's healthy development. So for sisters, when you smoking weed and you taking whichever way you take cannabis, right? You're impairing your children. All right. So that's another thing for brothers. You're looking for a sister. You don't want a sister that is addicted to weed because your children will be messed up. Your children will come out impaired and not as developed as they would have been. Okay, so not only do you not want to, smoke weed because it turns you into more of a woman, restricts your abilities to be a man to your full potential, but you could also, when you're smoking weed, your woman follows you. You might influence her to smoke weed, and now, not only is it impairing her health, but it can compare your child's health. Weed, many people don't want to admit it, but weed is very addictive. It's incredibly addictive. Okay. So you don't want to do that and then impair your future children. Okay. And then it goes on to daily life. So using marijuana can affect performance and how well people do in life. Research shows that people who use marijuana are more likely to have relationship problems, worse educational outcomes. There goes that IQ. You're knocking off IQ points. All right, a lower career achievement and reduced life satisfaction. Everyone knows when you smoke weed, people smoke weed to put them in like a state of euphoria. It relaxes you. It brings you down. If you might be active or your brain is anxious or this that you stress, it brings you down, calms you down. But when you get addicted to this, you get addicted to being in that low state where now you can't perform well in your day-to-day life. You just need to be in this low state constantly. Okay. I think that's the part I wanted on that. So um we're gonna get into more ways that smoking weeds turns you into a woman. Okay, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get to this another article. Okay, it says cannabis stunts growth in teens. Frequent users of the drug during puberty are 4.6 inches shorter and 9.6 pounds lighter at age 20 than those who didn't smoke. Let me close this out. Okay. So, weed is obviously very regularly linked with mental issues and psychiatric problems. But now, there's research coming out to suggest it affects your physical development. We're gonna get into even more ways it affects your physical development. I'll save it for my last point, but good night, brothers. Listen, y'all want to get off that weed. Y'all want to contact the ISUPK under commanding General Yahanna. Whether you're in the UK, Jamaica, Trinidad, we have schools in all these places. You want to get yourself off this weed because it's ruining your life. It's absolutely ruining your life. Okay, we're gonna get into it. Let me see. Ba. So it says researchers took regular blood samples from more than 400 boys aged 13 and 15 upwards, like here, age 13 and 15 for up to 5 years. Study found the widely available illicit drug, of course, marijuana, plays havoc with hormones. All right, so we're gonna get into the hormones and how it impacts you. Okay, so it says smoking cannabis regularly as a teenager could severely stunt growth. It says the first study of its kind found that boys who regularly used the drug during adolescence were almost 5 inches shorter than those who did not smoke by the age of 20. However, they went through puberty earlier than most other boys, meaning they grew more slowly after an initial spurt. And I don't know if y'all pay attention. Oh, it's like a shalom to Nakaf, Yahweh Shema, Allah Taba, Shemi Shai. You know what I'm saying? Now it's a well-known, common thing that sisters go through puberty earlier than the brothers. A sister might, you go through puberty at maybe age, 10 or something. You might start early, whereas brothers, it might be like 12 or 13, 14, so on and so forth when you actually start. All right. So when brothers smoke this weed, they get that puberty early, just like the sisters, and it stunts your growth. Whereas I don't know, on average, sisters are shorter and way less than brothers. So in that way, it's turning into more of a sister. Okay, it says while the drug, I think we basically read this part. Okay, so it suggests it also impacts physical developments. It is thought that cannabis, Europe's most widely available illicit drug, plays havoc with hormones key to growth and puberty. So the researchers, this is research they did from Pakistan. Again, that's where it comes from. That's where they strung out on that cannabis. That is not our culture. But the research was done from Pakistan. Took regular blood samples from more than 400 boys aged 13 to 15 for up to 5 years. Half were described as cannabis addicts who smoked the drug with tobacco 2 or 3 times a day. The others did not use it. The cannabis users were on average 4.6 inches shorter than the other boys at the end of the study. They were also almost 9 pounds lighter, but gone through puberty earlier. Okay. And the results couldn't be explained by the cannabis smokers being more poorly nourished or coming from poorer families. Meaning it wasn't because they didn't have enough food to eat. It wasn't because they were poorer. It was due to the only difference is the use in cannabis. Okay. But the blood test suggested that their hormones, like it, the blood test suggested their hormones to be the key. Okay, so it impacts your hormones. They had higher levels of two hormones key to puberty, and they lacked growth hormone, which is involved in weight gain as well as height. Okay, we're gonna get into now the next part. So it impacts your height, it makes you shorter than the average brother, and it makes you lighter than the average brother. Okay, now you doing all these things to you smoking weed to relieve your stress, but it is literally turning you into a sister. Not only that, many people that smoke weed experience like stomach cramping. All right, you not only are you now shorter, lighter, it impacts your emotions, making you more susceptible to anxiety and depression. Now you're giving yourself stomach crampings, which is also something that's generally attributed to sisters, because sisters have their monthly cycle, which one of the symptoms of that you might experience stomach cramping or nausea. That's another thing that comes from this weed smoking. Okay, and we're gonna get into now you doing these things to your body. We following after these other nations, the Hindus and the Muslims, that they brought that drug over to the Caribbean. You do it as a tradition to serve, you know, um, Rastafarianism, which is the serving of Ethiopians. It has nothing to do with black culture. All right. So what I'm gonna do real quick, and yeah, as Alicia said, extra chemicals. Yeah, you pumping extra extra chemicals and extra hormones into your body that aren't supposed to be there, especially when you smoke it. All right. um Let me get into well, I'm gonna get real quick. Let me get this scripture. Okay, we're gonna read First Corinthians 3 and verse 16. It says, know ye not that ye are the temple of God? So that body that you're pumping all these, extra chemicals into, as the sister said, that you're pumping these different hormones into that are not natural to you, that are not the way the Most High made you. Don't you know that you are the temple of God? Your body is the temple of the Most High. Your body is where the Most High, for blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, who are the children, the chosen people of God, your body does not belong to you. It absolutely does not belong to you. I know, we follow after the oppressor's culture. The oppressor's culture says your body, your choice. The oppressor's culture says YOLO, you only live once. The oppressor's culture says don't knock it till you try it. Listen, your body does not belong to you. So you should take very special care of what you do with your body, how you conduct yourself, not only in the way you live your lifestyle, but the things you put into your body. For example, there are foods that you can eat and there are foods that you cannot eat. Also, shalom to, it says Yahweh's Paleo Radio Show, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shabrakatah. All right, shalom. There are foods that you can eat because they're clean. The Most High said these are clean. He set those foods for you to eat. And there are foods you cannot eat. You cannot eat swine. Swine is an unclean animal according to the Most High. It is an abomination. You cannot eat crab, shrimp, and lobster. No matter what the Christian church will try and tell you and say, they say it's not what goeth into a man that defileth him. That's talking about if you read that verse, it's talking about the dirt on your hand, right? They were eating without washing their hands. They were not eating pork. They were not eating crab, shrimp, and lobster. All right, these foods that it's known that these foods are unclean. Okay, the food didn't magically change to be clean now. You know, when Christ gave His life for us. Christ gave His life for us because we were sinning, because we might have been eating unclean foods or serving serving other. Oh, Most High Christ. Okay, that's the sound. You followed the channel. All right, the water. All right, Christ gave His life because we were doing these things against the Most High. He didn't die, so now you have a license to do things against the Most High. He paid that bill. Really, we should have paid with our lives, but instead, Christ gave His life for us. All right, but know we not that we are the temple of God? We belong to the Most High, and that the Spirit of God, the Most High's Spirit, dwells in so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It dwells in us. We have the vibration of the Most High. All right, the way we conduct ourselves, you know what I'm saying, is the vibration of the Most High. We have the attitude, we have the mercy of the Most High. Black people are the most merciful people on the face of this earth. All right, unless it's, unfortunately, unless it's towards one another because of the oppressors, tactics and turning us against each other. But to any other nation, we are the most merciful people on the face of this earth. Who else would say about their own oppressor, what about the oppressor? Why can't he be saved? Or I don't want to, it's like damn, they don't want to go to they don't want a kingdom of God if the oppressor isn't in it. They can't bring so-called white friend, or they can't bring their Arab friend, or this and that. You know what I'm saying? All right. So the our body is the temple of God. The Spirit of God dwells in us. I'm gonna read on a little bit further in this chapter. Let me see if I view the chapter. So we got 16. Okay. Verse 17. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. All right. So when you pump in all these, you inhaling all these extra chemicals, it says God shall destroy. Him shall God destroy. And that's why, we be unalived by things like lung cancer, or even smoking weed is also linked to things like testicular cancer. Is why your body, doesn't develop when you smoking weed, because you ain't supposed to defile the temple of God. That's why you knock off IQ points, because you ain't supposed to defile the temple of God. It's why you ain't as athletic, or it's why your testosterone is reduced. It's why you might not be able to maintain arousal. You might not be able to perform when it's time. All right, as a brother, as a young brother, I see this a lot in the younger generation. It's becoming more and more like increasingly popular for younger people to be taking things like honey packs or blue chews and things like that. As a young person, if you under the age of 45, you should not be having to take any sort of supplement or additional thing for you to be able to perform. You should be ready to go. You should just the sight of a sister, you know, you should be able to be able to perform on site. You shouldn't have to, be taking honey packs and blue chews and all these things, but it's because our testosterone is reduced. A big part of testosterone reduction in our people is that weed. It reduces your testosterone, and also it increases your estrogen. We're gonna get into that. It increases your estrogen, which, for those who aren't very scientific, estrogen is the hormone that's in sisters. That estrogen and progesterone, that's the hormones that's in their body. It gets regulated and makes them, perform, makes their body work the way it works. We have, as men, we have both testosterone and estrogen, but the testosterone is more, and that's what allows your body to develop the things that are typically developed in a man, right? But when you're smoking this weed, it reduces your testosterone and increases your estrogen, which that's why you start to operate more like a female. Not only that, but you start to develop female characteristics. We're gonna get into one of the female characteristics you start to develop. We're gonna get into that, but we're gonna read onto the scripture a bit more. Okay. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For ye, the temple of God is holy. It's like it. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. He says, let no man deceive himself. All right. And many of our people, we deceiving ourselves and saying, No, it's a herb. It comes from the earth. It's healthy. God gave this to me so I can smoke it. You know what I'm saying? Or, I'm not addicted. I could quit this anytime I want. Meanwhile, you can't go a day without lighting up a spliff. You can't get up out of your bed without lighting up a spliff. All right, let no man deceive himself. It says, if any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool that he may be wise. If you think, you know, marijuana is great and you could continue smoking it, you're wise in this world. This world tells you, this world there's all sorts of music about weed and promotes it in the media, promotes it in the music and movies. It makes it seem like it's a cool thing to do. You seem to be wise in this world. If you want to be actually wise, become a fool, meaning forget everything you think you know. Become a fool and learn what's the actual truth. All right, become somebody who knows nothing so you can learn what's actually true. You have to become reprogrammed. You have to shake off everything that the oppressor tells you, because everything that the oppressor tells you and pumps into your media, pumps into your community is to destroy you. Everything all these other nations do around you and influence you to do is to keep you low and destroyed so they can stay above you. All right, what you want to do is you become like a fool. You know absolutely nothing. All right, you forget everything you think you know, and you come into the ISUPK and you learn the actual truth. You learn the truth about the Bible. You learn the actual truth about your history. You're not African. You're not, you're not even Jamaican or Trinidadian. You are an Israelite according to the Bible. You are God's chosen people. Forget everything you think you know, everything the oppressor has taught us, or that we learned from him from slavery, or we learned, from him by the way he trained us. He trained us for the young to be against the old, the light skin to be against the dark skin, he trained the Hispanics to be against the blacks against the Hispanics. You know what I'm saying? He trained all these different things to keep us divided, to keep us simple, to keep us wise in this world, but a fool according to the wisdom of God. Okay, let him become a fool that he may be wise. Okay, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. The wisdom of this world, which is, smoking weed is good, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Doing all these different narcotics is cool and good, and you should keep doing them. You're not addicted, you're fine. You can quit anytime. That's the wisdom of this world. The wisdom of this world is my body, my choice. And you then, our oppressors deceiving our sisters into unaliving our children, our own flesh and blood. Even animals have more care for their own than our people because we've been deceived, and we subscribe to the wisdom of this world. The wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. The wisdom of this world is following them Hindus and Muslims and smoking weed and following Rastafarianism and some Ethiopian. But our God told us to be sober minded. You find that in Titus chapter 2. In fact, let me get it real quick. Let me get that real quick if I search this up. Real time, I'm gonna search this up. Titus chapter 2 and verse 1. So he says, but speak thou the things which become sound doctrine. Okay. All right, no sweat. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober. All right, our aged men are meant to be sober, not, you know, not weed heads, not strung out on these different drugs. We're supposed to be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, which is brotherhood, which is something is very lacking in our communities. We have no brotherhood towards one another. We ready to unalive a brother over 5 pounds that he might owe us, or over this and that, the different things, postcode wars and different gangs against other gangs because this brother was unalived, and then you had to get your get back, and then they had to get their get back, and then you had to get your get back, and now you keeping scores and tallies of how many brothers you unalived. We have no brotherhood anymore in the black community. All right, we're supposed to be in patience also. All right, Shalom, Yahweh Shemi Al Shabbat, see ISUPK NC. You know what I'm saying? North Carolina, Fayetteville, shout out. All right. Let me see. And you meant to let me see. It says young men also exhort to be sober minded. So not only are the aged men meant to be sober minded, you're not meant to see no, we see a lot of the elder our elders, a lot of them are in Rastafarianism. They high out of their damn mind. They're supposed to be sober minded, and the young men likewise are supposed to exhort to be sober minded. That's what our God tells us to do. All right, the God of the Hindus and the Muslims, it tells them to get high. The God of even in Buddhism, it tells them to get high. In the Christian church, forget about it. The Christian church, that white Jesus tells you to do anything you want to do. That's what that white Jesus tells you to do. Our God, the black God, according to the Bible, tells us to be sober minded. Okay, all right, and let me see. In all things, showing thyself a pattern of good works, in doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, being a serious brother, not being, YOLO and living like this oppressor, being unserious about life. We're supposed to have gravity and sincerity. All right, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed. When we live our life according to the Most High, we live a serious life. We live, we live according to the wisdom of the Most High. All these other nations, they can't now say, oh, that you shouldn't be like them black people. Them black people, they, the only place they gonna end up is either unalived or in prison. They can't say that about us no more because we're not living a foolish lifestyle. We live in a lifestyle that is sincere, that's grave, that has some seriousness about it. We know we ain't falling into that trap no more. We ain't falling into getting addicted on weed or getting addicted to different narcotics or getting involved in gang violence or our sisters getting involved in all sorts of promiscuous activity, unaliving the children. We ain't falling into these things. So all these other nations, and they tell that they right now they tell our children, don't be like those black people. Don't be like them. They ain't no good. They can't, they can't hold down a job, or they lazy, they this, they that. When we live our life according to the Most High, that He is of the contrary part, all these other nations are of the contrary part. They're against us. They will have no evil thing to say of us. When we follow the Most High, when you get into the ISUPK, you change your life and become an absolute soldier. Our sisters become princesses. Those that are of the contrary part, they are ashamed in that they now have no evil thing to say of us, because we live in better than them. We live in wiser than them. We have the actual wisdom of God. It was given to no other nation but us. So when we act in that, we become wiser. Even the Bible says, surely this is a wise and great nation that has God so nigh unto them. That's what they will say. They will no longer, call us all these different bywords and N-word this and N-word that, or no good and lazy. They won't call us no proverbs and no bywords. They will have no evil thing to say of these. They will have to respect us when we respect ourselves. Okay? Um, and Khan, yeah. Nakat says, Khan said, damn right, the ISPK changed my life. The ISPK changed all of our lives. We would not be the people that we are today without the ISPK, without the home of the truth, without serving God. All right, all of us would be in all sorts of different, um, you know, all sorts of different foolishness, living just for ourselves, living like how the oppressor lives. But they don't get the punishments that we get. All right. We're going to get to the last point. Last point, um, which is how this weed turns you into a woman. Exploring the link between marijuana and gynecomastia. For those of you who don't know what gynecomastia is, some of y'all who are in the medical field might know. Gynecomastia is the development in men of breast tissue. There is a link between smoking marijuana or marijuana usage and the development of breasts in men. All right, we're going to get into it. It says, as a man, having gynecomastia can be quite embarrassing. This form of excess breast tissue can occur in fit men and even those that are noticeably muscular. So don't think, you can smoke weed and work out. You might still develop breasts as a brother. Around 50 to 60% of boys and men deal with this condition. It's a core reason for a lack of self-esteem. Not taking your shirt off at the beach, which you shouldn't do because you really shouldn't expose your nakedness, but it can impact your self-esteem. Or getting nervous before an intimate moment can be products, if you trying to get with a sister, you take off your shirt and you got man boobs. Good night, slack you. You want to put down the spliff. Don't don't take that back up. All right, can be products of gynecomastia. All right, many causes of gynecomastia have been linked to hormone imbalances, which we went over that. Weed causes these hormone imbalances. Now, there's a root cause that's taking many by surprise. Interestingly enough, it's a guilty pleasure of many nowadays, and it's marijuana. All right, in states such as Colorado, where the psychotropic has been legalized, gynecomastia procedures, which a gynecomastia procedures is the reduction of the breast tissue, have become more common. All right, so let me see. So relevant information. It's important to note that gynecomastia is not caused by excess fat. So it's not just general, you gaining weight and you might get, man boobs in the fact that you just overweight. It's actual breast tissue that's developing. It's not just excess fat. All right. It said it's not caused by excess fat developed on a man's breasts. That would be pseudo gynecomastia, which means it mimics gynecomastia. The real gynecomastia we're talking about is a result from varying hormone levels that trigger breast tissue development. You're actually developing breasts because you can't put down that split because you're addicted to that marijuana, that weed. Okay. It says that's because men are born with male and female hormones. Hormones such as testosterone are more common in men than estrogen, the female hormone. When a man suffers a hormone imbalance, the testosterone levels decrease and estrogen levels can spike, ergo the development of breast tissue. Okay. It says, interestingly enough, marijuana can act as an estrogen stimulator. So when you smoking weed, that those compounds, those extra chemicals you put into your body act as estrogen. Like you smoking and you putting estrogen, you putting the female hormone into your body. All right, it's been linked to studies that demonstrate that pot increases the production of estrogen while simultaneously decreasing testosterone production. So not only are you just increasing your estrogen, increasing the female hormone, you decreasing the testosterone production. While the exact reason for this occurrence is unknown, it's theorized that THC, which is the psychoactive component, blocks GNRH, which is the hormone that triggers hormones, including testosterone. Okay, we're gonna get into it. So the reasons linking gynecomastia and marijuana: so it increases estrogen levels. It's been shown to increase estrogen levels in the body. There's a hormone that promotes breast tissue growth, which can lead to gynecomastia. Can decrease your testosterone in addition to increasing estrogen. All right, it's been shown to reduce testosterone levels in men. That's why you might not be able to perform when it's time to perform. You need to take them honey packs or the damn blue chews. All these different things. You might not be as a man has a natural desire to conquer, to achieve, to go out in the world and do something, earn something, make something. When testosterone is reduced, you don't have that drive anymore. You don't have the sexual drive. You don't have drive in life, motivation. That's why you operate in a real low state because your testosterone is reduced. All right. Testosterone is a hormone that helps regulate the growth and development of male characteristics, including muscle mass, body hair, and a deep voice. So when you smoking this weed, you might not even develop your muscle mass. You become weaker. All right, which is another thing that makes you, more of a female. Now you don't develop the muscle mass you're supposed to develop. Body hair, you might have less body hair, which again makes you more feminine in your characteristics. You might have developed a deep voice. You might have a higher pitched voice now because you smoking that weed, can't put it down. Again, you're making yourself more like a sister. Low testosterone levels can lead to a decrease in muscle mass and an increase in body fat, which is another thing. Of course, everybody knows that sisters have a higher body fat percentage. You're supposed to have, a higher body fat percentage than brothers, and that also contributes, like here, to the development of gynecomastia. Right? It can lead to weight gain. Another thing, another factor contributing to the development of gynecomastia is weight gain. Marijuana use has been linked to increased appetite and cravings for unhealthy foods, which can lead to overeating and weight gain. Excess body fat can increase estrogen levels. So you just from every angle, it's turning you into a sister. being now, you got from smoking this weed, you've developed what is essentially a eating disorder. Which if I go back into this one, another thing that is that's what's the word? Another thing that's more common in sisters, I think, is it in this one? I could just say it. Another thing that's more common in sisters is eating disorders. All right, eating disorders are far more common in sisters. All right, so when you smoke this weed, you giving yourself an eating disorder. All right, and what does sister say? It says Nakata's cancer affects a male fertility and for a woman ovulation and the length of the menstrual cycle. I'm Most High Christ. Watch this sister. This is very very well versed in the medical field, so she know what she's talking about. It affects not only your decreases your testosterone levels, it affects your sperm. It affects your male fertility. You might be trying for a child and you can't have a child because you can't put down the spliff. And sisters, it affects your ovulation, and the length of your menstrual cycle. All right, which that's your reproductive system. You don't want to impair that. You want children, you want healthy children, you want to put that down. Okay, so it's been linked with increased appetites. Read this part, which can lead to overeating and weight gain. Excess body fat can increase estrogen levels and decrease testosterone levels, increasing the risk of developing gynecomastia. All right, so we went ahead and we got into it. I hope I've proved to y'all. Listen, y'all want to put down that weed. We as a nation need to absolutely get rid of marijuana. It's not black culture. I broke down how it comes from them East Indians, the Hindus, and the Muslims. It's not our culture. It's defiling the temple of the Lord, which is your body, which belongs to the Most High. It's against God. God told us to be sober minded, and He gave us herbs and He gave us leaf, but He gave us these for medicine. He didn't give you cannabis to get high. He gave it you to you might have different medical needs for it. If you have an actual medical need, then take what's prescribed from your doctor. But don't be self-medicating and saying, "Oh, I need this. It helps me." It just helps me relax. It's the same thing as overdosing on paracetamol. Paracetamol serves a purpose. It's a painkiller. When you overdose, it's dangerous. You might experience a high effect, but it's dangerous. It's something your body ain't it doesn't need it, so we don't know what to do with it. All right. The same thing with different all the different medical things like opioids. Opioids is a medicine, but if you overuse it or misuse it, which is really what y'all are doing when you're smoking weed, you misusing it. You got all sorts of negative effects and side effects that you just don't want. You don't need that in your life. All right, for the sake of you, for the sake of the Most High, which you belong to the Most High, for the sake of your children, be strong, be a man for your children. For the sake of your rib, be a strong man for your rib. Sisters, don't impair your ability to have strong, healthy children. Brothers, don't impair your ability to be a man. Full stop. To just be a man to begin with, but also having children, as the sister said, it impacts male fertility, male hormones, all the above. All right, y'all want to put this thing down. We as a nation need to just put this whole thing down and never pick it back up. All right, and with that, that's the show. That's Real Time Revelations, episode 4. All right, we're gonna continue on every Monday and Thursday. Gonna get this in, bring out new topics. Gonna give you the biblical breakdown. We're gonna go into the science, go into the social part. We're gonna break down everything. Make sure you follow the page, so you tune in for more when we go live. Make sure you like, make sure you share, so that anybody, whether it's yourself or anybody that has issues or struggles with marijuana use, make sure you let them know that this is going to turn you into a woman. Well, sisters is going to harm your body and impair your ability to have strong, healthy children. Which every sister, what y'all want is a family. Y'all don't want to impair that ability. Okay. And with that, that's the show. Make sure you'll tune in tonight for the scripture breakdown class taught by Captain of 10,000 Karathia, where if you bring any questions about the Bible, any questions about scripture, you need, any advice or something going on in your life you don't know how to handle, you just need, you need somebody to help you, give you advice. You tune into that class, ask every and any questions, and we'll answer it according to the wisdom of God. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you tune into that class 7 till 9 p.m. So from now, it should be starting soon if it hasn't started already on our YouTube and our Facebook. Okay, ISUPK United Kingdom. And with that, I say shalom, shalom, Israel.
Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, then you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Polls everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.